Well, thanks for coming in. A new Obama campaign ad out today, running in Ohio. Listen to this.
Mitt Romney attacked 47% of Americans who pay no income tax, including veterans, elderly, the disabled.
My job is not to worry about those people.
Doesn't the president have to worry about everyone? Mitt Romney paid just 14.1% in taxes last year. He keeps millions in Bermuda and the Cayman Islands. He won't release his tax returns before 2010.
All right, Alex, that's a pretty powerful ad in Ohio, don't you think?
Mitt Romney sounds like a bad man in that.
Ooh, that's a pretty good
scary
thing.
stuff. Must be Halloween.
As far as a political campaign commercial, what would you give that?
Well, it's pretty straightforward pretty tough ad, yeah. Punditry is tough. We should leave it to the professionals. Mitt Romney was playing pundit in that room. He was talking about the election, 47% of the people. That's Obama's base. I'm going to concentrate on swing voters. Candidates should be candidates and lead the country and not talk politics. But I think that kind of thing does hurt. The only thing that voters, I think it's worse for a candidate, that when voters decide that they don't like you, is when voters decide that you, the candidate, may not like them. And they saw a teeny hint of that in that. And that's so different than the Mitt Romney I know. Here's a guy who, you know, we all want to take care of our neighbors as ourselves. And so many politicians in Washington, they're happy to take care of people with other people's money. Mitt Romney's done it with his own time, with his own effort, with his own heart. He's taken care of people with a lot of his money. It's such a different guy than we saw there.
He gives a huge percentage to charity, as you well know.
He does, which is very admirable. But he does not pay his fair share of taxes, which is disgraceful. It's legal.
Totally legal. There's nothing illegal about it.
And this is what this ad gets to. The governor now has released two years of tax returns. Count them. His father set the bar at 12 and said, beware if anybody releases just one, because they could pretty it up. That's the problem, I think, that Governor Romney has. Not only that he seemed to show contempt, although I do think he was saying, I can't worry about getting their votes. Even I don't think he was saying, I don't care about their lives.
I think that's right.
And so in that sense, it probably wasn't like the fairest clip to take out of that. But this question of releasing his tax returns will dog him till the election, maybe to the next election he runs in, because people want to know. You have this vast fortune, you're only paying 14%. By the way, he could have and probably would have even paid less because of the loopholes he uses, but he won't tell us what loopholes he'll close. I bet you, I don't have $10,000, but I bet you a six-pack of beer, he would save the loopholes that have saved him so many millions of dollars and other multimillionaires and hammer the middle class. That's, I think, the problem he's got.
But, you know, tax law says this is what he has to pay. He paid what he has to pay.
Capital gains is 15%.
15%.
Right. Salaried income is 35%.
Right.
So he was paying the 15%, which he doesn't get a salary. He makes his money through investments.
Right, but unlike, say, the billionaire investor Warren Buffett, who pays, I'm sure, no more than the government requires, he thinks we need a fair tax system that rewards work in the middle class.
Question.
Right.
That's a different question, because you have capital gains, you have investments, you pay 15% on that, but you also get a salary, you pay 35% on that, assuming you make more than $100,000 or $150,000
like
a year.
Warren Buffett, Mitt Romney gives a tremendous percentage of what he makes to help other people, not other people's money. He gives his own.
Warren Buffett's
and the law is very
too.
clear. The law says that if I walk by a bank, I can't rob that bank, but the law doesn't require me to go into the bank and like give them more of my money.
But the problem is when working people who pay no federal income tax, poor people, working poor, a lot of them pay 15% of their income in tax through the payroll tax. That's higher than Romney pays. There is something wrong with rewarding wealth and punishing work. Democrats and the president, I think it's a good argument. It says, let's cut taxes for the middle class and let's ask Mitt Romney.
Here's another clip from the 60 Minutes Romney interview last night, and then we'll discuss.
Well, I can tell them specifically what my policy looks like. I will not raise taxes on middle-income folks. I will not lower the share of taxes paid by high-income individuals. And I will make sure that we bring down rates, we limit deductions and exemptions, so we keep the progressivity in the code, and we encourage growth in jobs. If you want to work together with people across the aisle, you lay out your principles and your policy, you work together with them, but you don't hand them a complete document and say, here, take this or leave it. Look, leadership is not a take it or leave it thing.
All right, the question is this: should he lay out specifically what exemptions and deductions he wants to eliminate as a part of this tax plan? Because people are saying he's got to be more specific than just saying the highest income brackets go down from 35% to 28% or whatever.
Well, he's not being any more specific than President Obama is on reducing entitlements and what he'd cut. Because why? Both of these men, if they're elected president again, want to go to Congress, and they don't want to have already pre-negotiated or given away their position. So that's understandable. But Romney does make a good point, and that is right now the tax code incentivizes people who have a lot of economic success to make money how? By taking advantage of loopholes, not by incentivizing people to grow the economy and create more jobs and wealth. Well, he wants to change that. So you don't raise taxes, but you incentivize people to grow America, grow, and get this economy going.
If he's reelected, he's got to negotiate with Republicans on a lot of these issues. And he says the same thing. I'm not going to start negotiating before an election. I'll get into the room. We'll negotiate these issues later, which is what Romney says.
But he has produced budgets. He is the president of the United States, and for, I guess, 4 years now, he's had to produce a real budget. This is the advantage a challenger has. He can be vague. But now the new message from the Romney people is we're going to be specific. I actually think that's great. I think people want specifics. I think it's important. I think, cannot get away with saying, I'm going to cut taxes, $5 trillion over 10 years, mostly for higher income Americans, but I won't tell you who's going to pay for it, because the Tax Policy Center, a bunch of nonpartisan nerds with, pocket protectors and propellers on their heads here in Washington, looked at this and said, if you make $3 million a year, it's going to be a $250,000 tax cut, but if you're middle class, it's going to be a $2,000 tax hike. So that's the Romney's problem.
Hold your thought for a second. We're going to continue this conversation because there's a lot more to talk about, but just hold your thought.